But also just keep in mind, I've done this and you may have seen this before. Remember the statistics of what it takes for an associate doctor. Remember, this is not, you don't have to be a millionaire. It's unbelievably easy to at least break even and lose no money. It's unbelievably easy. It's 13 patient visits a week. And so if you look at the math and you go, okay, let's say you pay an associate doctor a base salary of $2,500 a month or $3,000. So you go, or say $3,000, let's say $3,000 a month, a base salary. And generally speaking, when they start, they'll start with a base salary, and then they don't get any more bonus until 3 times that amount of money is collected. So if the salary is $3,000, so their bonus would not start until after the money they produced and collected from their production is $9,000, and then they would get basically a third of that money coming in above $9,000. So what's the real outlay of money, and how quick can you expect is it going to cost you $30,000 for an associate doctor? Hell no. And so this is what I try to impress upon you with the math is I go, okay, if let's say you paid $30,000 a month, that's $36,000 a year. And then you go, okay, how many patient visits does that equate to break even? In other words, you've got nothing but upside. The first thing you want to do is make sure they pay for themselves as fast as they can. And that should happen within 30 days. By the end of the 30 days, they should have at least produced their base salary. And that's what happens when you do it the way we train it. So when you take $36,000 and divide that into, let's say, your dollar per visit, let's say your dollar per visit is 50, that gives you the number of visits for that year to pay for that guy's salary. That's $720. So then go ahead and divide that by the number of weeks, and that tells you how many patient visits a week it takes to break even, pay a salary. So you're talking about 13.8 patient visits a week. And you go, okay, well, how many new patients? That's one new patient. I mean, that's like literally one new patient. Now, how long is it going to take before you break even? Well, as soon as your collections equal that from that person. So if you go 13.8, so if I go 13.8 times $50 per visit times 4, so let's say the $3,000, you're paying them $3,000 for that month. Is it going to be 100% loss of $3,000? No. If they're trained properly and you're not sitting on your ass, they would have at least brought in help bring in X amount of revenue. And I don't want to get into the detail of it, but anywhere from helping with extra services, extra therapies, in other words, now doing things that you're not doing because maybe you're busy. I mean, even if they did not even learn patient retention or new patients, just from the services that you can provide by him being there with your existing patient base, that alone should pay for their ass. And so what I'm trying to just remind you is how simple this is. So by the end of the first month, they should definitely know patient retention and none other additional therapies. But there's an agenda that I put together, and I go, okay, this is what they learn first, second, third, and fourth. But the whole goal of that agenda, the very first goal is get them to pay for themselves as fast as they can. Because remember, as soon as they pay for themselves, there's no other money outlay on your behalf. The stress of the financial outlay is over. So that's the very first thing. And then everything from that point up is going into the profit margin. So what's the real cost that it may take you? Is it going to cost you $3,000 the first month? No, he should be able to produce at least $1,000 in some form of collections with therapies and what the services you provide. In other words, he shouldn't just be a blank check sitting there. And then definitely by the second month, he should easily help collect at least half of that. And I'm talking easily. 90% of them should collect $3,000 by their 60th day. So 90% of them should have had the patient retention and the educational sales marketing that they knew how to at least get a few patients, and whether it's through reactivation, referrals, the different systems that we have that they're trained in. So now they know how to get a few patients and they know how to keep them to some degree. Well, by the time that happens, hey, Steve, can you hit your red button for me there and hit your mute button? For whatever reason, when I hit mute all, yours is not going off and I'm catching all the background noise from you. So having said that, what is the real money that you're talking about? So the reality is if you do the job right, in other words, they're trained right in the systems and they're paid attention to, it's not being lazy, by 90% of them will collect their income by the second month. Let's say that doesn't happen. Let's say they only collect 50%. So the second month, you're only out $1,500. $1,500 the second month. Now, the third month, they damn well better have collected. If they have not produced and collected the income you're paying them by 90 days, you got one of two big-ass problems. You did a shitty job of hiring somebody, or you're doing a shitty job of training them. It's one or the other. There's absolutely no reason in my system associate doctor can't pay for his salary of $3,000 a month by the third month. There's no damn way. There's something major wrong with that. I want you to know. So normal situations, by the third month, there's no money out of your pocket at all. So if you look at the first month, so let's say you put up 100%, so you got $3,000, and by the way, it won't be 100% because toward the end of that month, they're going to help bring, through the services, help bring money in. And I'm offsetting it a third, $1,000. So in real money by the end of the month, it should only be $2,000, but let's leave it at $3,000. So if you're at $3,000 in one column, and the other column is say $2,000, because now they're starting to actually do some of these what you're training them in. Now the next month, let's say the first month you paid them $3,000. Let's say the next month they only collected one half. So now you have to come up with $1,500. And now the next, usually through collections, collect their salary, which is $3,000 through the services, which is all the services, whether it's the therapies, the additional services that they can help produce with your existing patients, whether it's the basic marketing programs, the high leverage marketing programs that starts getting a few patients in to actually keeping patients, you're at zero. So what did it cost for that one associate doctor in that circumstance, in real money? $4,500. $4,000. $4,500. Now, if you go to a more optimistic approach, let's say you start with $3,000, they help collect $1,000 the first month, so you only paid them in real money $2,000. Let's keep it at one half for the second month, and there shouldn't be anything again by the third month. So in a more optimistic situation, you're talking about $3,500. So you're talking about $3,500 to $4,500 to have an associate doctor to get things moving. Now, again, why is this so important? Remember that what's the number one reason that you should try to get an associate doctor as fast as you can? There's one reason. And it doesn't have to do with time, and it doesn't have to do with money. The number one reason is it will hold you accountable. And I've said this over and over. If you're one of the doctors that's dragging their ass in all this material, getting things in order, and it's just taking you a long time to get shit together, You're the kind of guy that needs that associate doctor. You need somebody there to help create accountability. And that's what I told you, the very first thing that happens with associate doctors is when you know you're training this person, you're responsible for their success, and you got skin in the game, meaning money. It's amazing how you'll get off your ass and be unbelievably focused day to day. And by the way, this comes from personal experience. I personally experienced this. When I had associate doctors, my office always went up, always. As soon as the I had a lapse between sending them out and bringing in the new ones, it always went down. And I'll just tell you why it went down. Because my discipline went down. Now I'm sitting in there reading the news sports section of the newspaper at 10:30 in the morning instead of being productive. And now in today's world, this was prior to the internet, in today's world, now you're on Facebook. So I understand, and by the way, I knew that. So I couldn't wait for the next group to start to help hold me accountable. So that's the number one reason, is it'll hold you accountable, and it'll increase your motivation, and it'll get your ass moving to be a better manager, better business owner, higher accountability, higher profitability, all that stuff. And then the other reasons are leverage of time. And I told you, I said, even if I didn't make one penny off of an associate doctor, but they just broke even, the money that they produced and collected pay for themselves, it would still be worth it, because it gave me freedom. It allowed me to, work part-time. It allowed me to take longer vacations. It allowed me to not be burnt out. I said, that alone would be worth it. And I said, even if they didn't break even, and I had an associate doctor, and I just had to pay him $3,000 a month, and I didn't make one penny, I'd still do it. Because I know the value of freedom. I know the value of discipline and motivation, that they easily will help increase my business in all of these facets more than $36,000 that year. I already know that. So these are the considerations that you should be looking at with the associate doctor. You should not be waiting until you're flush with cash and you have $100,000 in your checking account. That is not when this should happen. So, and it shouldn't be happening, and it shouldn't happen until you're a black belt. Like I said, some of you guys that aren't black belts in patient retention and patient education and new patient marketing, you're the ones that need to consider getting an associate. Because chances are, the reason you're not a black belt in it, the probability is, from my experience, is you're dragging your ass. You're not having the self-discipline to get on the train and put shit together and make it happen. And that's just my personal experience. I see it all the time. And then I'll see somebody who gets something happens in their life where they get motivated. And wham! Now they're like balls to the wall and shit happens real fast. I'm like, okay, well, I wish that would have happened 6 months ago, whatever that was. So I just wanted to, now in real money, what is that? So what's $3,000 in real money? Remember, it's not real money. Remember, it's 100% tax deductible. 100%. And you're going to be in a 50% tax bracket. So in real money, how much is that? You're $2,000 in real money. So when you spend $2,000 that month on the stuff you do, going out to dinner, liquor, crack cocaine, whatever the hell it is you do, $2,000. Well, that's not tax deductible. So you're going to have to pay another, and you're going to be in a 50% tax bracket, state, federal, city, county, all that. So you're going to have to add another 50% to that. So that's another $1,000. Just like that, $2,000. And now remember, you don't know it because you're not doing it at the time. When you pay your quarterly taxes is when you find out that money's due. So you're talking about in real money, $2,000 a month for an associate doctor, or divide that into 4 weeks. You're talking about $500 in real month to create freedom or discipline or leverage up your business. $500 a week. And I guarantee you, if you tabulated the stuff you did, going to McDonald's and eating out, and but if you just looked at your budget, you'd run into $500 probably pretty damn fast. I know I would. So I just wanted to point out to you, for some of you guys that are dragging your ass with the associate doctors, what's going on? What's going on? What's the problem? There's never going to be a perfect scenario. It's just not going to happen that way. And maybe you need to look at it differently and go, okay, I can't look at this from a state of abundance. I can't wait till I have abundance. I need to get the associate doctor to help as a source of discipline and motivation, because my ass isn't doing it. So, and remember, I told you, it's tough out there on your own. I know what it's like. When you're self-employed and you're out there on your own and you're making enough money to pay the bills, I already said that's the worst position in life to be, because the motivation's gone and there's no external discipline. It's all on you. You're either going to do it or not do it. It's the worst damn position to be, seeing 80 visits a week, 60, 80 visits a week. You're making enough money to pay all the damn bills and not hit the panic button. But now, so your primary and secondary motivation goes to hell, survival and security. It's gone. The natural motivation goes. And then now you're back to, well, where's your real discipline? Where's your real motivation outside of natural motivation? And remember, 80% of the people do not have the motivation once the natural motivation of survival and security is gone. 80% of the people don't have it, unless you use the triggers we talk about to create it. 80% of the people will not naturally have it. Only about 20% will. And then the last part of that equation is discipline. And you guys already know what the hell is going on with that. You know how easy it is to screw around in your office. It takes you like 3 hours to do something that in reality should have taken 10 minutes because you're lollygagging around doing this, doing that. You look back 3 hours and like, where the hell did the time go? You know what I mean? I've been there, I'm like that parent that did everything, that did all the drugs, and then your kid comes home high and he doesn't think he's high. I'm like, bullshit. I've done all that shit. I've sat in there and read the sports page and eat the Twinkie at 10:30 in the morning when my ass should be working on my business. So anyway, I just wanted to again just point out. So you're talking about $3,000 to $5,000 is what you're talking about. The initial cost to start your life, to start freedom, to start helping with motivation. I'm telling you, and almost everybody will say that's taken on an associate. That's like Sean here. Is that Sean or Seamus online here?
Sean.
Is that not true, Sean? You guys just hired your associate in the last 2 to 3 months. And what's happened to discipline? Has it gone up, down, or stayed the same?
Up.
A little or a lot?
A lot.
Good thing or bad thing?
Great thing.
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So you guys that don't have associates, listen to what the hell he just said. That's exactly what I'm talking about. He said a great thing. And it is. And by the way, Sean, how much more fun is it in practicing when you're helping and supporting and training somebody else? How much more fun is that?
Well, we're having fun. I agree.
It's a heck of a, as long as you got the right person. If you got somebody who's got a bad attitude and shitty and all that, then obviously, no matter what you do, it's going to suck. But that's part of our in-depth interview process, is not to get, caught up with people like that.
Hey, so Paul, luckily you hired him for us.
Yeah, and that's what I do. I do the interviews. Like all the guys that hire associates the first times, is they do the preliminary interviews, and then I go through the interviews to kind of do a major filter to try to really weed out, people that just I don't think would have it, or would be a bigger problem for you as a trainer for the first time that you train. I mean, I can train a lot more people that are below average because of my skill as a trainer. Well, shit, when you're first training, you want to try to get an above average potential doctor. because your skill's below average in training. And so that's what we try to do. So anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to share with you and just remind you. Having said that, Paul, Dion, does that make sense what I said?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Doc.
Can you see how that would tremendously help the discipline and focus of your practice?
Of course, because I'm paying them every week. I got to keep track of them, and I'm going to be there to make sure everything runs smooth.
Okay. And then there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't be on that track right now. I mean, you should be hiring an associate. You should be advertising, marketing, and interviewing right now. Don't wait until you're a black belt. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Can you see how it's only going to take a few $1,000s and how easy it is for them to break even with what you're paying them?
Yeah, of course. And I can hold them accountable.
It's a hell of a lot less. I mean, if you only did, this is so easy, guys. If you only taught them the reactivation program, that's it. Or if you only taught them the referral program, and that's all they did the first 30 days. And then they were taught how to do patient retention in the first 30 days. They're easily going to create their revenue by the end of the 30th day. And remember, that's my goal with the associate doctors, is that they at least have the ability to produce what you're paying them. The second month, we want their ass to pay for themselves. And if not 100%, damn well 50%. The third month, we don't want to be paying a penny for their salary. We want everything to be the money that they created through either supplemental services in your office that are not being done. I mean, I got guys that aren't even doing active therapies. I mean, I did the math with one of my clients who's not doing any active therapies. We calculated his dollar per visit. We calculated the percentage of his patients that were on insurance. We calculated his average visit. We took a percentage of that for active therapies. We calculated what the UCR was for his area. And it was about $150,000 to $200,000 that he was not making because he did not have a simple bullshit active therapy plan in place. Well, how quickly can you put an active therapy plan in place with an associate doctor? It's called 72 hours. 72 hours. I mean, the next day, literally the next day, I'm showing them how to do active resistance exercise, and the next damn day, he's producing money for me. That's how easy this is. So whether it's a reactivation you're starting with, whether it's a referral, the in-house referral, you don't want to start them on cold calls. That's the hardest stuff to do. Educational sales to cold calls is the hardest. So we'll go to high lead systems, even if it's only advertising with high trust lead systems. They'll still get business. And then immediately by the end of the 30th day, they know how to do report of findings and start keeping people. And there you go. You're off to the races. And then everything, your life changes forever. Now you step up, you start leveraging, your discipline goes up, your focus goes up, your priorities go up, the excitement goes up, and it's fun to talk to another chiropractor in your office as opposed to being in there by yourself. See somebody you can actually talk to professionally as opposed to your high school educated CA. Everything about it goes up. And then there you are. Then you learn how to be a trainer, you learn how to be a manager, so you extend your skills. You extend your knowledge and your skill set, and of course you know how important leveraging time is. That you're never going to get out of your office if you never learn how to hire and train associate doctors. I mean, if anything, that's the worst. I waited too damn long. I hired an associate doctor. I think it was my second year in practice. I hired my first associate doctor. I'm like, that was too damn long. By the end of the first year, I was bored to death. I should have started a year earlier.